So welcome, Baba. Welcome to the podcast.
I was just straying away from it, but I was like, no, no, no. I think I love competition. It keeps you motivated. It's like, yeah, it's something which keeps bringing you forward. Street smart. Like the 10-year-old me would have said book smart, but now I'm
Mhm.
saying street smart. I don't want to stray away from civil engineering ever. So I'm working as an intermediate geotechnical engineer in a firm called GHT. Previously, I used to be in the US. I did my master's at Purdue University. Before coming to the United States, I was in IITian,
What kind of student were you?
mostly a geek. Because my father is a civil engineer. That kind of put the seed within me that, okay, I have to be an engineer someday. I was not sure which engineer. Even in the childhood, I used to like in the top three. But
Mhm.
10th and 12th, like 10th, I think I was third rank in the state.
Every college have a lot of Babas. How did you get the name Baba?
Just started doing my puja and everything. I put some agarbattis and like put a small diya as well, and I just put it on, and the whole room was filled with smoke. When he woke up, he was so shocked. Okay, is there a fire in the room? What's happening? Like it was like, what's going on? Why did you put so many agarbattis and all? I was like, it's the first day of class. What am I supposed to do, right? Like it is what it is. I didn't go to big coaching institutions. I always wanted to keep a balance. Like I didn't want to leave something for competitive exams, or I didn't want to leave competitive exams to do good in my studies at school. So I always had
Mhm.
that good balance, and I didn't want to lose that balance. And
How were you
mhm.
meeting these seniors?
I just used to like go to them and ask them like,
The best moment you had in your college?
the best moment I would say was for an internship. I got into three universities for the research internships, and that was kind of the best moment because I was like, I had choices to go to any of these continents. I mean, this one of the offers was from Canada, one of those offers from Germany, and one of those from New Zealand. The research was so exciting that okay, I don't want to stop at just a bachelor's. Like I just want to keep studying and see how
Mm.
this field is, right? First year students that okay, you need to ask yourself, am I in the right field? Google is a big source of information, and you need to be using that source for better use, right? Like for your own betterment. It's an age of data. Like the more data you have, the better decision you can make. Money will keep going and coming in your life. Like you cannot keep money centered in every decision. As you grow up in your life, you will find out that there are a lot of other things which are more important than just money. If you're making that kind of money, you will be working at least 12 to 18 hours a day, right? And you can think about what you're going to do in the remaining hours of that 24-hour day, right? Like you have to make food, you have to like do the basic like activities which you need for survival, right? So I think keep those other things in mind before making these decisions, right? It's not always about money. I don't want to stray away from civil engineering ever. So
Hello everyone. With today we have Anuj Chaudhary, also known as Baba back in the days. So welcome Baba, welcome to the podcast. That's how we all called you.
thank you so much. Thank you so much to give me this opportunity. And yeah, glad to be answering some of the questions today and also discussing my life with you guys.
Awesome. So let's give a short introduction about what you are
Mhm.
doing right now.
Yeah. So I'm working as an intermediate geotechnical engineer. It's in a firm called GHT. It's a multinational firm which does a lot of civil engineering consultancy for variety of construction projects like throughout North America and also in other parts of the world. So I'm working there, I think since April 2022, and before that I was working at WSP Canada. So that's what I'm doing right now. Previously, I used to be in the US from years 2013 to 2019. I did my master's at Purdue University from 2013 to 2015, and then also worked back in the US as a civil engineer, mostly general, but then I got into geotech, which we'll discuss about that later, how I got into the geotech field. But yeah, I worked there for 4 years in Columbus, Ohio. And before coming to the United States, I was obviously in IT rookie, 2009 to 2013. Did my bachelor's in civil engineering. And then going before that, obviously, we'll discuss all about the the preparation which we all did for
Let's
IIT.
stay there.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's go there.
yeah,
2009 to 13,
mm-hmm,
back in IIT days.
yeah,
How would you define your personality? What kind of student were you?
mm-hmm. Uh, I would say that I was like mostly a geek because I think I remember from the ninth grade itself, based on what my family had been teaching me. Then that okay, your my father is a civil engineer, so that kind of put the seed within me that okay, I have to be an engineer someday. I was not sure which engineer, but because I also used to go to different construction sites with him, right? And he used to show me various like cool equipment on site, and yeah, I used to get like shocked by seeing some of these really big equipment on site working like day and night, and my father is kind of looking at everything, making sure everything is working fine, and it 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 felt proud, and also it gave me a sense of direction, right? Okay, I think I can do this, right? So I think since grade 9,
Mhm.
I specifically started to prepare for it, not in that much speed, I would say, but I would say like 11th grade and 12th grade would be the most important time of the IIT preparation, and that's when it was all heads down, like making sure that I cleared the exam, because I didn't go to big coaching institutions. It was like all my like hard work, and also like the local tuitions which I used to go back in my hometown. So I always felt that what do you call, like I felt scared because it's such a difficult exam. Am I doing enough? I was looking at other people doing so much more than me, so that used to cause me like, okay, am I doing enough? Am I not doing enough? All those kinds. So I think it was mostly a geek phase of my life, and I still feel that to date. Like
Mhm.
I don't see a lot of change from that time. So yeah,
Gotcha. So,
yeah,
so in college, you were
mm,
definitely, one of the
yeah,
studious student. We all relied on your
hmm,
notes, and I remember you used to have a
yeah,
sheet in your room where you would write which diary is being or which notebook has been taken by
hmm,
whom, and then you would take
yeah,
back. So how did you get that idea? Like, because I've never seen anyone else in college who was
yeah.
having a sort of
Hmm.
register for maintaining like who has taken
Yeah,
his notebook and when will he give
I
back.
think
So how did that came into your
I think
life?
since my childhood, I remember I had this OCD in me. Like you can call this, like I don't call it a disorder, but I think it helps me get forward with my life. And I think my mom is like that too. She also has that OCD to keep things organized, and like just to make sure that you're keeping track of everything, right? So maybe in my childhood, I didn't realize that, but when as I grew up, I started to figure it out that okay, if I, let's say just a small example, right? Like I'm going to, let's say 11th grade, I'm going to tuitions, and I'm just keeping a track of my time, that I wake up at 5 a.m. and I just make a schedule for that day, right? What I'm gonna do today, and I saw
Yeah.
like how it
Hmm.
was gonna help me like move forward with my career as well as the preparation for the exam, right? So I think since I grew up, I kind of made a habit, right? And that habit kind of showed in my first year at IIT Roorkee, because I thought that everyone would do this in their lives, but it was a big shock for me that
Hmm.
I was the only one doing that. So yeah, so I think it was from the childhood that I had that
See,
OCD. Yeah.
see, the scheduling and
Mhm.
organizing part, I can see a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
people have it. I'm also very
Hmm.
organized. But the idea that you need to maintain a
Yeah,
register to maintain who has your
yeah,
notebook, like, is it because every day someone was
yeah.
coming and you were
Exactly.
losing track of where are your notebooks?
Exactly.
Okay.
That was the sole reason. I remember that register helped me find my hard drive too, because it got lost. Like I didn't even remember like the person who took it, and then they might have like shared it with someone
Mhm.
else, and I didn't know about it. So we kind of backtracked through that register and ultimately found out that hard drive. So Yeah,
Got it. Sort of like Git repository for your
exactly.
own notebooks, trying to track where is my notebook. That's and you used to play NFS
Yes.
also. I remember you used to play
Yeah.
Need for
Yeah.
Speed
Yes.
a lot, and you kind of knew
Yeah.
all the cars. So
Mhm.
speak about that. Did you play after first year
Uh,
as well? I knew in first year you
yeah.
were playing. We were close by. After
Hmm.
that, we were
Yeah. I think
yeah.
gaming
So
wise,
did it continue?
I think that started from even like again my childhood, like maybe third or fourth standard. Like the I remember PlayStation 1 like recently came during that time, like early childhood, and we used to have those like centers, like gaming centers where you just pay like 10 rupees or 10, 20 rupees per hour, right? And I just went there for the first time with my
Yeah.
brother, and he's five years older to me, right? So I used to play with him, and then he when he moved to college, I grew up, and I was like, yeah, I still want to do this because I don't know, like it just felt a rush, right? Like during, I would say, like most of my
Mm.
study time was really boring, and that kind of helped me to be a stress release, right? Like just to play some games, like just get to mind off of studying for a while, and I think that's why, like, and I tried different types of games. I liked racing because I love cars from the very beginning, and I think that's where I stuck myself into that. Okay, I want to keep playing racing games, and it went into like first, second year too, right? And then after that, things got busier, and basically
Mm.
I lost it. So yeah. Mm.
Gotcha. And you were were you in some
Uh,
clubs, some
yes, not in
sections?
the first year because I remember I when I joined, I was in metallurgical engineering, right, to begin with, and
Yeah.
since I've seen my father like doing civil engineering throughout his life, and I really wanted to be a civil engineer to begin with, and my father said that yeah, you just get an entry into IIT Roorkee, we'll see like how it goes, right? You don't lose that opportunity that you didn't get into civil engineering, right?
Mm.
But that's what my plan was. Like
Mm.
first year, I'll just focus on changing my branch and like studying hard for it, and then making sure that I get what I deserve, right? So I think first year just went straight away into
Mm.
studying for the branch change, and I think second year onwards, I started venturing out. Okay, what
Mm.
can I do? And before second year, I didn't even know I could sing, but I used to like like I
Mm.
used to just be a bathroom singer. I mean, I didn't even know that I could sing that well. So
Yeah.
I just went for the audition one day, and I just prepared one or two songs. I didn't even know any other songs that time. Like I just prepared two songs, and I remember my
Mm.
first audition, and they said, "Okay, do you know any other song?" I was like, "No, this is what I prepared." And they said, "Okay, we'll work off of that." And then I think there was a second round, and yeah, ultimately I got selected, and I learned a lot. Like I never had a formal musical training, but whatever I got from my seniors that time, like second, third, fourth year, it 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 told me a lot that it can be a hobby of yours. Like you have a good voice, you can use it. Like not for concerts or not for like you don't have to make a band or something. Even for yourself, you can have it as a hobby in your free time, right? So I got into the music section second year
Yeah.
onwards, and it went great. I mean, I think I did like two or three concerts throughout the
I
2 or 3 years. Yeah. So
yeah, yeah. I recall that.
yeah.
I knew you were in. I wasn't sure
Hmm.
was it a music or
Yeah.
which section, but I knew you
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
involved in one of the clubs, so it was singing. Do you sing now?
I mean, whenever there is
Mm-hmm.
a public gathering, right? Like people would just like, "Oh, can you sing this?" Like, we want you to sing something, right? Like you have a good voice, so I sing sometimes like that, but nothing professionally. I mean, I have a plan to do that sometime in the future, but maybe make a YouTube
Uh-huh.
channel out of it, just for the sake of it. But I really do love singing, and I also want to spend some more time honing that skill within me, right?
Yeah,
And also to learn an
yeah.
instrument with it. I'm not sure. Like I started learning guitar, but again, like it just went off
Mm.
on and off for some time. But maybe
Mm.
percussion is my thing, right? Like always trying new things and see if that can stick on, and I
Mm.
can just sing with that particular instrument, right?
Mm.
I heard
Yeah,
Pantham is
yeah,
a great percussion instrument, which I really want to try. Let's see.
yeah.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's called
Which one?
pantham. So it's like a steel disc, right? And there is like multiple
Oh, the
points on it.
hang drum?
The hand drum, yeah, it's called pantham.
Hang drum.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
Pantham. In what, Hindi
I
or?
think it's
I know it's called hang drum,
yeah,
but
it's I don't know. It might be a Sanskrit word. I'm not sure. Yeah.
oh,
So that is
I
what
see.
most of the
Okay.
people
Yeah.
in that industry call it, right?
Yeah.
Like if they are playing that instrument, they will call it that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
I see.
yeah.
You know what? I,
Hmm.
2, 3 days ago,
Yeah.
I was looking
Hmm.
hang drum prices,
Hmm.
and
They're
they have
crazy.
some rental hang drum. It's just such a cool piece
Yeah.
of instrument,
Yeah.
like it has a cool vibe with it.
Hmm.
So even I have this desire
Yeah.
to play it and learn it.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Hmm.
That's good. Yeah, try it out.
Yeah.
And any song for our viewers?
Right now, I don't
Yeah,
know.
why
Let's
not?
see. Let's see. Yeah, I loved that. The main thing with me is like I never remember the lyrics. I don't know. Like I remember so many things in my mind, but I just have to like I don't know,
Mhm.
like just practice it maybe once
See.
or maybe towards the end of the call. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
God. So it's weird,
Mm,
weird with me also.
yeah.
So with me is I don't know lyrics of
Mm,
song, and I sing my own lyrics,
yeah.
and I love the song.
Mm,
The moment I know the lyrics, like after a while, I'm like, okay, I should know the
yeah.
lyrics. The moment I read the lyrics and I know the
Mm,
lyrics, I lose the taste of that music.
yeah.
Then it's not that more charming.
Hmm.
It's
That's correct.
yeah. So
Yeah.
singing is what Baba was doing in the
Yeah.
college, and gaming. And so for brand
Hmm.
change, uh, when did you figure out like you wanted to do brand change? And there is a thing called brand
Yeah.
change because a lot of people don't know about
Hmm.
it. I didn't know about it when I went into
Yeah.
college that you can change
Yeah, I
branch.
remember. I think when you clear the exam and you're called for a session, right? Like where you are supposed to fill in your choices about which branch to like you are given like a rank list, right? Like from your first priority to the like
Mhm,
100th or the 200th priority, you can fill in so many options about different branches in different IITs or NITs too, right? So I think at that time there was like so many parents. I went to IIT Kharagpur for my session, right? Like the I think it's called
okay.
an information session. I don't remember exactly, but when I went there, I talked to a lot of professors which were there. They were also helping out prospective students with just understanding, giving an understanding that okay, what does chemical engineering look like, or what does civil engineering look like at this university or this IIT, right? So I talked to a lot of
Mhm,
professors there. It
mhm,
went on for like 1 or 2 hours, and then they said, okay, now is the time you need to submit your choices. And that's when I also asked that okay,
mhm,
is there a possibility to change this? Because I don't think I'm gonna get what I want in IT Roorkee, and also because of my rank
mhm,
too, I already have like
mhm,
eliminated some of the upper IITs, right? Like IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi. Uh, I think even Chennai too, right? Like it was out of the league at that time. So I was I was setting up a realistic choice list for me, and that's when I found out that okay, one of the professors there said, yeah, you can change the branch in first year depending on your performance. I was like, okay, that's good. So
mhm,
I think
mhm,
that kind of showed me that okay, in if I do good in my first year, I can change a branch. Like it doesn't have to be. It depends on the courses I take
okay.
the first year, right? If I like let's say electronics more, I can maybe change to electronics, right?
Mhm,
So I took all the subjects. I
mhm,
saw like which one I'm liking the most, right? Again, not thinking in terms of like at that time it was not really long term, right? Because it was just the first year. I just wanted to change my branch, right? And after starting the first year, I also talked to
mhm,
some of the seniors, right? Like they within civil, within other branches which I was thinking of getting, right? Like even mechanical, electrical, engineering, and I don't know. Computer science didn't really it didn't really excite me that much, so I don't think I talked about that to any seniors. But all the core like engineering branches, I definitely got more information when I talked to the seniors, and then I got a good sense. Okay, I think I am made for civil engineering, and that's when I decided, okay,
mhm.
I'll definitely try my best to get into that branch. Yeah. So yeah.
Got it. How were you
Hmm.
meeting these seniors?
Yeah.
Because I don't recall meeting
Hmm.
seniors of different branch. I was playing
Yeah.
tennis. I knew tennis senior. That's it. So how were you even making these connections with
Yeah,
senior
I
of
think
different branches?
whenever I used to go to the library, I tried, like I saw some of the people who are already sitting there and studying, and I just used to like go to them and ask them like about which year you are in, and like try to talk to them. I know some of the seniors would say, "Oh, you cannot talk to seniors like that." There used to be those like ego standards, right? Like, okay, a new junior cannot just talk to a senior like that, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
had some hurdles. Then through some of the friends
Mm-hmm.
of mine who knew some seniors,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then I used to go through them, right? Like through some of my friends. So
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, I think that's how I got to
Okay.
know them. And even
Okay.
I was in NCC, so NCC also kind of helped me get some more contacts
Mm-hmm.
within the seniors, right? Like second, third year, and fourth years too, because it was like a one big thing
Yes.
where there was no kind of hassle. Like you can talk to anyone within that core, right? Like National Cadet Corps. So I think that also helped me a lot to find seniors to talk to them, and yeah. Hmm.
Gotcha. I
Yeah.
think that's benefit of we used to think why do we have NCC and NSO? Now
Yeah.
looking back or
Yeah.
NSS, it kind of
NSS. Yeah.
makes that's the only way you get interaction with your
Yeah.
seniors. Otherwise, like you're saying, you
Hmm.
reach out to seniors, they might not feel
Yeah.
comfortable. So
Exactly.
it's good that you made connections and you had there. And then
Yeah.
if I ask a hypothetical question, Baba, that
Hmm.
if your AIR was one,
Okay.
would you have selected civil engineering?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I know it's hard to believe because I
That would,
remember
yeah.
like all my classmates that time, like in metallurgical
Uh-huh.
engineering, right? Like they all were saying that, okay, you have this opportunity to change your branch to, I think the highest branch I was getting was electronics at that time. And then I was getting everything else
Oh,
like mechanical, production and industrial, electrical, civil, and then chemical too, right? So, but I still chose civil, and they were
uh-huh.
saying, "Oh, why didn't you take electronics? It has good job prospects, all that." I was like, "I'll be the one who will be creating the job prospect for myself. So it is up to me. I should really like the
Mm,
job which I'll be doing in the next 20, 30 years, right? If I take electronics just because it
mhm,
has a good job prospect, it's not going to work out at the end." So yeah,
mm. I see.
yeah,
Nice. So you kind of did that. You
yeah,
had a choices of selecting other brand where
hmm,
you selected civil engineering and
yeah,
became a second generation civil engineer
kind of.
or third generation?
I would say still second because my grandfather was a lawyer. So my father was kind of the first
Okay.
engineer, and then I'm the
Uh,
second. Yeah.
how about your great grandfather? Your
Uh,
what was he doing? So you have civil
I'm,
engineer and then
yeah,
lawyer.
yeah. I'm not really sure. Like I'll have to ask. Even my father, like
You know,
he might be
gotcha.
knowing about that. But I think it was definitely not engineering. That I'm completely sure. But it was something
Okay.
else. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Yeah.
And how did you get the name Baba? Because we know every college have a lot of Babas, but
Yeah.
I wanna know, like, how did you get the name?
It was, yeah, it was an interesting story. Like this dates back to first day of our first year, and I remember like Rajendra Bhavan, right? So in the hostel, I got to meet my first year roommate Sarthak, and he was also in the same branch, metallurgical engineering. And I think I reached on 19th July. That was my birthday. Our classes were supposed to start on 23rd or 22nd. I don't remember, but it was the weekend before that, right? Like when we reached, I was the first one to reach, and I pretty much set up my room. Like there was another bed. Obviously, I thought that okay, there's gonna be another person coming in, so I made sure it's all good on his side too. Like it's all clean and all. And then he came with his parents, and my parents also met his parents, and we just interacted. It was all good. Like I found out that he's gonna be a good roommate, right? So and since it was the first day of like classes for all of us, I just wanted to the good visual start, right? So I just started doing my puja and everything. I put some agarbattis and like put a small diya as well. And I didn't I didn't know at that time that it was a small room to begin with, right? And I put like 5 or 6 agarbattis, like just like put it on, and he was still sleeping by that time. I woke up really early, it's like 6:30, and I just put it on, and the whole room was filled with smoke, obviously. And by 7:30, I was ready to go to the mess for the breakfast. So I left before even asking him to like wake up or anything. And then when he woke up, he was so shocked. Okay, is there a fire in the room? What's happening? Like, so he got really scared and he called me. He was like, "What's going on? Why did you put so many agarbattis and all?" I was like, "It's the first day of class. What am I supposed to do, right? Like, it is what it is." So he got really scared, and I think he was the one when we all reached the class. The first class was, I think it was physics. Yeah, physics class, right? I remember. So then he came in. The class was supposed to start at 8. He came at 8:05, and we all we all chatted after the class was finished. And he just said, like, I think he's a Baba. Like he did a really good big puja and everything. My like our room was filled with incense all over. Like even the whole hallway there was like smoke coming out. I was like, I think I should not have done that then. So I think the first day itself, I was given that name.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah,
so then most likely all
yeah,
the Babas are
yeah,
maybe the one who
yeah,
started praying, and that's how they
yeah.
associate the name Baba
Something
to
like
them.
yeah,
And I guess it continues till there. Like I call you Baba, or your college friend
yeah.
probably call you
Hmm.
Baba. Okay.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. I mean,
Okay.
even when I made the branch change to civil, there was already a Baba there, and now there are two Babas because obviously I moved from metallurgy to civil, and they also started calling me Baba because yeah, we can have two Babas. That's fine. So it just continued. It just
So how
continued.
how about that other Baba? Was he also Baba because of puja or
No,
other
not for that
reason?
reason. Obviously, it was because of I think they used to do uh, I don't know, some kind of drugs or something. Like even from the beginning of the first year itself. So I think he was kind of the
Whoa.
source for that. So he was for a different reason, but I
Hmm.
was for a different reason.
Man, that's
Yeah, that's
the
crazy.
gradient of Baba. Like it begins from the one who's doing puja, and
Yep.
it goes to the end. It seems like the person on the extreme is Baba.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very interesting. So you don't know, like when you meet a Baba, you don't know. He could be the prayer Baba or
Yeah.
the other Baba.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. And then how was your puja?
Hmm.
Because college is not a
Hmm.
very conducive environment for prayers and
Yeah.
pujas.
Hmm.
So were you able to continue your practice till the fourth year?
Uh, I I think it definitely decreased because of the increasing workload and all. Like I think in first year I used to do it every day in the morning, and then I think by
Mhm,
the end of the fourth year it was like maybe once a week. Even today
mhm,
I remember like I just do it once a week, like before the start of the week, usually on a Monday, right? And yeah,
mhm, mhm,
I think that's what happened. Like to be honest, like it just decreased with time, but I still try to keep it on, keep it in the mind. Not it should
mhm,
not be based on some kind of an idol worship, but you can sit anywhere and do that, right? Like you can do puja anywhere you like. So
mhm,
I just kept continuing that
mhm.
tradition with me. Yeah. Hmm.
Got it. Awesome,
Yeah.
man. That's a lot about you in college, which I didn't know,
Yeah.
which I'm learning as well. I didn't know all these stories.
Yeah.
So let's get back onto your
Mm.
let's get to your childhood. How was your childhood?
Hmm.
What is you told your dad is civil engineer. How
Yeah.
about your mom, and
Yeah.
do you have siblings, and
Yeah, my mom was
how was
a
childhood growing up?
homemaker. I think throughout her life, like she did study to like the 12th grade, and she also was supposed to do a bachelor's of science. But I think since she was married early, I think she didn't get a chance to finish her bachelor's, and then like just me, like when I was born. My father was still doing his civil engineering bachelor's, like he was in his third year at that time. So when I was born, I think he just
Oh.
finished his exams too, right? Like the third year, second semester exams or something, and then I was born. So I also kind of think that whenever like during pregnancy, right? Like whatever is happening around the mother, right? That's kind of gets onto you, like
Mhm.
onto the kid too, right? Whatever is in the environment, if there is good
Mhm.
vibes, good energy, like whatever is happening around, I think that kinds of gets onto the kid as well, and that's why I think I'm a civil engineer today, right? Because of that reason that my father was still doing his bachelor's, finishing his bachelor's that time. So then I think my brother, he was a mechanical engineer by professional, but I think now he has gotten into more of the business side of things, right? Like being basically being an analyst. Since he's from a technical background too, he understands like who like how
Mhm.
his team is working on certain aspects and how he's able to manage it all, right? So yeah, mostly in the childhood, like as I told, like I was always that geeky nerdy kid, and I was not into that much sports, to be honest. Like I always thought that this is a waste of time, but understood like the importance of sports in life. Like I kind of regret that portion of life, that I should have been involved in more sports in my childhood. But I think that's what who I was. Like I was not into that much sports. Even my brother used to just like bring me to the field, like, okay, let's play cricket. Like he used to like force me, and then I always used to like, I was drawing or doing something in the home. Like I love to draw. Like even to date, I used to draw sketches sometimes, like even do some landscape paintings and all that. So I think I was more of
Mhm.
that kind of a person rather than an outgoing person. But that doesn't really explain
Mhm.
whether I was an introvert and extrovert. I was a complete extrovert that time too, but just a different kind. Like I was not into sports,
Mhm.
but I was into everything else. Like at that time, like I used to go with my mother to like
Mhm.
visit relatives, and yeah, pretty much everything. I was that kind of person who liked talking to people. Like even at the childhood stage, like I used
Mhm.
to meet people most of the time. And as I grew up, I think towards the later
Mhm.
childhood, I was thinking that my schools also got changed. I remember during sixth grade, I went from DAV to DPS, like Delhi Public School. That was a big change for me too, because DAV was a mostly Hindi speaking school, and then DPS was it was a
Mhm.
big change because it was mostly English speaking, right? So that was a big change, and then I
Mhm.
slowly and
Mhm.
steadily learned how to speak English and also write it very well, right? And then when the
Mhm.
ninth grade came on, like it's basically the start of your IIT journey, right? Like you started preparing, and even like making those kind of friends who are also deeply what do you call deeply immersed in this experience, right? Like they are all into for the same goal. They also had the same goal, and I think yeah, it went perfectly fine because of that circle I had with all the students of the school, and they were also preparing for the same exam, and it's good to have that kind of circle, right? So yeah, I think that's pretty much my childhood. I might be forgetting a lot of things, but this is what I can come up with right now.
Yeah. My
Yeah,
math and logic is
yeah,
kicking in, and you said your brother
yeah,
is 5 years older than you, and you were
yes,
born
yeah,
when your father was in third year of
hmm,
engineering. So
yeah,
when was
yeah.
your brother born? Even before your dad was in high school?
No, actually, he did his diploma first, right? So
Okay.
he graduated, I think, 12th grade, and then he did his, I think it was a 2 year or 3 year diploma that time. And then
Oh.
he was working in the state government when my brother was born. And then during his working, he found out that he was thinking that he is not going to excel in his career because of just a diploma, right? So that's when he
Mhm.
decided to start his bachelor's, like after, I think after he was already 3 or 4 years old, right? So he already, like in his family at that time, he already had a small kid, and it was
Mhm.
really big of him to take a big decision
Yeah.
to start a
Yeah.
bachelor's program, and then also me in my mother's belly, right? Like
Yeah.
it was a really big decision on his part to start a bachelor's and then finish it
Yeah.
like with flying colors too. So
Yeah. I see. I
yeah,
see. Very
yeah,
good. And how was your
yeah,
relationship with your brother growing up? Like 5 year
yeah.
older brother, uh,
Hmm.
and then he did engineering. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing, like, when did you hear about IIT, and when did you have
Mm.
that inception of the dream that I want to do IIT?
Yeah. I think it was around that time when my brother was studying for the same exam, right? Like he was
Okay.
preparing for it, and he also went to Kota for 1 year.
Mm.
But
Mm-hmm.
he, like, I think he had the first chance and the second chance. He couldn't clear the exam, and he ultimately got into a local university because my father and mother said that, like, there's no point of you wasting time further. Like, you need to get on with your career, and he
Mm-hmm.
that's when he decided to get registered as a bachelor's in mechanical engineering. And
Okay.
I think during that time I saw his struggles, and I saw that how difficult is this exam, right? Like, how you have to put in
Mm.
a really big effort. You
Yeah.
have to be diligent, you have to be disciplined, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to make sure that you're doing your good part in understanding the concepts, not just like इंडिया में जो बोलते हैं like रट्टा लगाना, right? Like, it's not just that. You have to
Mm.
really understand what's going on, like, because the questions can come out of anywhere. It might be a question you might not even have seen in any of the books before, right? So that's why you
Okay.
need to build those concepts. You need to have a deeper understanding of the subject itself, right? Physics, chemistry, maths, even biology
Yeah.
today, right? Like, so I think at the time when my brother was studying for it, I think that's when that seed got put into my mind that, okay, I think I'll have to do something, and if I have to become a good civil engineer, I'll have to get it from a prime institute, right? I mean, IIT is the
Mm-hmm.
first civil engineering institution in Asia. So
Mm.
I think that's kind of the thing which I had from the very beginning. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. So that's where you started even in nine, because
Hmm.
generally people start in 11, but people who
Yeah.
know it well ahead, like you have your
Yeah.
big brother prepared, so
Hmm.
you knew that. Were you a school topper in your school?
Uh, I think if you just take the 10th and 12th grade, like even in the childhood, I used to like in the top three. But
Mm.
10th and 12th, like 10th, I think I was third rank in the state, and then 12th, pretty much in the top 10 of the school itself. So yeah, I can say that I didn't want to, like, I remember there was a big distinction about the NCRT studies, like just clearing the exams for the grades itself as compared to the competitive examinations, right? So all the students at that time, they were only focusing on competitive exams, and they kind of had a huge impact on their main studies, like, which basically those kind of documents you still use to date, right? Like, you use your 10th certificate, you used to use your 12th certificate, and people see that as a benchmark of how you did in your entire childhood, right? So I always wanted to keep a balance. Like, I didn't want to leave something for competitive exams, or I didn't want to leave competitive exams to do good in my studies school. So I always had
Mm-hmm.
that good balance, and I didn't want to lose that balance. And I mean, all my friends at that time, they used to say, if you keep worrying about how you will get the marks or the good scores in the school exams,
Mm-hmm.
you would just not get selected for competitive exams. Like, you have to put in your 100% in competitive exams. I was like, no, that doesn't work. Like, you have
Mm.
to make sure you are uh, balancing everything, right? Like, you cannot just like lose one thing for another good
Mm.
thing, right? So I think that's why I was able to make sure that I do good in the school exams, as well as, again, competitive exams. It was, I did my best. Whatever I got, whatever rank I got that time, I think it was worth it, right? I got into one of the best civil engineering schools in Asia at that time. So I think it worked out at the end. And people, sometimes I've seen, like, they just want to get into the top institutes like IIT Delhi, Bombay, like Chennai, and they forget what are the other important things in their lives, right? Like, at that
Mm.
duration of their lives. So they don't do good in their school exams, and that kind of snowballs towards their later life
Yeah.
too, right? Like, if they don't clear the competitive exams, then they get that then they think that, was it worth it? Like, was it worth to put that 100% into the competitive exams at time? So I think there needs to be a balance. Yeah.
Got it. Got
Yeah.
it. So how was your preparation
Mm.
preparation during those years? Because
Yeah.
I think majority of people who are preparing for IIT gives IIT very high
Yep.
importance, and the
Hmm.
goal is to do well in 12th, so
Yep.
that whatever the requirement is, you need to get first division in 12th. So
Yeah.
that's how most of the people do, and
Hmm.
you were focusing on both.
Yeah.
So then that means you have to put much more effort. So how
Yeah.
were those 2 years in 11th and 12th? What were your schedule like?
Hmm. I think, yeah, 11th beginning when I joined the various tuitions, right? Like physics, chemistry, maths. I think those were the main subjects which were in question at that time. And even for the 2 years, like even in this school, I had taken I believe economics as compared to computer science. Like most of my friends went into computer science because they really liked coding at like even the initial coding which they were learning, they liked it. And I was kind of a person which was all like who was always afraid of coding. I don't know why, but it just didn't make sense. Even if I had the brain for it, I was always afraid of it. I don't know why, but so that's why I took economics as my kind of the fourth subject, right? And I think the fifth one was, I believe it was English because it was compulsory curriculum in the NCRT course, right, for 11, 12. So those were the five courses. And once I began my tuitions for those three courses, I got an idea that, okay, since I don't want to like lose my school studies and also like just focus completely on competitive exams, in the tuitions I used to study obviously just the competitive exam stuff, right? I think I used to go. My first tuition was in like about half an hour away from my home, right? So I used to go there like early, like 5:30 in the morning, and finish that class like 6:30 or 7, and then straight away after that I used to go to school, right? In the school obviously the coursework would be happening, different classes from different teachers, and that used to cover all my coursework for the school. And then in the afternoon I used to go to the remaining two subjects, right? Like physics was in the morning, right? And then chemistry and maths would
Mm-hmm.
be in the afternoon, right? And then in the evening I used to come back and decide, okay, whatever I have done since the morning, it was kind of 50-50, right? 50% competitive, 50%
Yeah.
schoolwork. So I used to just revise it. Like whatever I have done
Mm.
throughout the day, I need to just revise it in maybe 1 or 2 hours in the evening. And also not to make sure that I like burn out myself, right? Like it was very important to not get burnt out, especially like
Mm-hmm.
you're just studying the whole day and you don't take breaks in between. I think it's going to be really bad in the long term. Like even I've seen students getting burnt out by the end of the 11th grade. By the start of the 12th grade, they were like feeling very confused that what are we doing? Are we in the right
Mm-hmm.
direction? Right? Like those kind of questions start popping up. So it's very important to take breaks. Like even when I was studying, I used to like watch TV. Like I used to go to the hall and just watch TV for like 15 minutes. Anything. It can be anything. Like you can watch it with your parents and like just sit with them, like talk with them. So I used to do that in the weekdays, right? So Monday through Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, I used to like at least take like 3 to 4 hours each day. Basically, half of it would be understanding the concepts for the competitive exams, and half of it would be the school coursework, right? Like finishing homeworks and like even there used to be Monday test. Like every Monday, we used to have a test on each subject in the school, right? So you had to prepare for that. And yeah, so I always kept it 50-50. Like which whatever time you're putting onto your studies, just divide it equally so that you don't lose it, right? Like if you think that you are lagging behind in competitive exams, you can do it 75-25. You have to decide for yourself how
Mm.
you're gonna spend your time, right? Like for both the stuff. So that's what I used to
Mm.
do. Like whenever I felt that I'm losing or I'm leaving behind a lot of things for the school coursework, I used to just study about those, right? Like I just put the competitive exams on the back burner for that point
Got
of
it.
time. And yeah, yeah, I mean talking with
Mm.
friends too, like it also helped you gain an understanding that okay, is there something which I can do better, right? Like let's say solving a
Mm-hmm.
question. You have been doing it in
Mm-hmm.
2 pages, and let's say your friend is doing it in a few
Mm-hmm.
lines, right? So there is something which you can learn from that
Yeah.
person, right? So those kind of interactions I used to have whenever the tuitions get finished. Like everyone used to come with a moped, right? At that time nobody was allowed to drive
Mhm,
a car,
mhm.
right? So like we were just sitting on the moped, like just discussing what the tuition teacher went over, and just discussing, right? Like what could have been done
Yeah,
better, or just
yeah.
discussing, right? Like that kind of helped open your mind, right? Like you're not just studying yourself
Mhm.
alone, you have to talk to other people and gain understanding from others too, right? Like it is a learning from others, it is a learning for yourself, and it helps a long way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
uh, I'm getting
So
flashes of
mhm.
those after session. Everyone is on those mopeds and
Yeah,
talking and blah, 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 blah. All those chit chats
yeah,
are, it's just different
yeah,
energy when the class
yeah,
ends. Everyone is there. So,
yeah.
so you were pretty much
Hmm.
like
Yeah,
study, eat, sleep,
uh-huh.
and maybe 15 minutes of TV or 30 minutes of
Yeah,
something else throughout the
yeah,
day.
yeah. 15 to 30 minutes every
Yeah.
day. Yeah,
Were
yeah.
you
Hmm.
sacrificing social events during that time? Like, let's say there is a marriage or there is a birthday party
Hmm.
or all that stuff. So would you?
I think so.
Mhm,
Yeah, I think for those 2 years, I remember like even my parents had to do it. Like they were also pretty
mhm,
involved in those 2 years of my life. Like because I think because of them too, I'm at that stage where I'm at right now,
mhm,
right? With my career, my life, everything, right? Like a huge credit goes to both of them. And I think because of them telling that, okay, it's not good for you to go to a marriage right now because it would waste, let's say, 3 to 4 hours of your week,
mhm.
which you could have used to study a new
Yeah.
topic, right? Like or to understand some of your doubts which you're having from your tuition teacher,
Mhm,
right? And I used to call them, like I used to call my tuition teachers even in the night when I used to have a question.
mhm,
You should not be afraid of asking questions.
mhm,
No question is stupid. Like we are all human
mhm,
beings and we will always have questions. Like you think about the scientists who are working at NASA, right? Like they have so many questions which are way above the human understanding right now, right?
mhm,
And you being in a school,
mhm,
you're working trying to understand a physics question, right? Like you need to keep asking questions. That's what drives you forward.
mhm.
So I think I used to do that, and people, like even my parents sometimes used to get backlashes from the teachers that, okay, your son cannot just call any time of the day, as like, and they used to defend me at that time because like they used to say, yeah, he is studying hard, he is working hard towards it, I think he deserves to ask those questions any time of the day.
Oh.
So I think that was a good support which helped me at the end, right?
Uh,
So yeah,
yeah.
be do not be afraid of asking questions. I think
Wow.
that's something which every youngster today needs to follow. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Calling teachers is
Yeah,
I mean I've
yeah.
never done that, but that's
Hmm.
interesting. And you said you had different
Yeah,
teachers. It seems like you were not going to one
yeah,
institute. You were going to individual teachers
yeah.
for each of them, and
Individual. Yeah.
you were just
Mm.
trying to, because when you are in an institute, like I was in an institute, so you
Mm.
have many teachers. So there is a different
Yeah.
teacher for doubt solving and they have their session, so you go during that time. But when
Hmm.
one person is running institute, I think what you did
Yeah.
might be, something that works out better. But why did you
Yeah.
why did you did that, like three different institutes, and why did you not go to quota, or why
Uh,
did you not select the institute where all three are there?
hmm. Yeah, I think it was because of the previous experience with my brother too, right? Like because he went to quota for 1 year,
Mm-hmm.
and since my parents saw that it was not a huge, like again, it's a case to case basis, right? Like it didn't seem like a huge improvement from his first attempt for the exam, for the
Mm-hmm.
competitive exam.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what triggered my parents to say that, okay, if you can do it locally, that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
And we have like I think I obviously had a lot of options that those days because all these institutes like Fiji, Resonance, all these institutes were also coming to Bhilai, where I belong from,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they were saying like, okay, you can try to join those, see how it works out, and also the local teachers who had been pretty famous for competitive exams in the past. I think those were also good options which I wanted to look at, right? So I think it worked out because when I joined those individual teachers, I was getting like that one-to-one attention, right? Like which you might not get in an institute because there's so many students, right? I
Yeah.
remember for my chemistry class, I used to go to a like teacher who used to take classes in her house.
Mm.
It was a small room, like maybe 40 students max, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of one-to-one attention, which I liked because I was able to ask questions anytime, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can go to that person. They used to be available most of the time, right? Like to ask questions, and like it felt more personal, right? Because you get that personal feel when you're in a smaller class as compared to a class with 200 students, where you might be just a number to them, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
they don't really have that personal connection with the student, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what I liked, and I kept continuing with it. I did join these big institute begin with in the 11th grade, but I think I left after 2 or 3 months. Like I just said that it's not working out for me. So
Okay. So what
yeah,
were you doing in ninth and 10th? You said you started
uh-huh.
preparing early. So in ninth, 10th, were you going to
Yeah.
any classes or was it just self-study?
I think it was mostly tuitions for the school coursework. So those kind of helped me gain a better like edge. When I joined the 11th grade, they were kind of covering some of the advanced coursework
Mm-hmm.
for a ninth or 10th grade classwork, right? Like it was not just the stuff which was covered in the school; it was slightly extra, right?
Yeah.
So that gave me a good base or a good foundation to begin my 11th and 12th grade.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, and that was
Yeah,
more individual teachers. It wasn't an institute that,
exactly.
so maybe
It
that
was it was even smaller. Yeah, even smaller classes. I can say maximum 20 students in a class.
got
That's
it.
it.
So maybe is it like
Yeah,
because in 9th, 10th you experienced that and in 11th when you went to big institute you felt disconnect and you
yeah,
wanted to go back
that's true.
to okay.
I think that's what might have happened too. Yeah,
Got
yeah,
it, got it. Because for I would say again, majority of people doesn't
mm,
do this different institute, and one of the challenge I would see is how do you gauge where you are? Because when you are going to one
hmm,
institute, you have a test for PCM and everyone gives it and you say where you are. But if
yeah,
you're going to three different institutes, you might know where you stack up against others in P, C, and M separately. But
hmm,
collectively,
yeah,
did you join any test series or how were you
yeah.
evaluating if you're gonna make it or where you are?
Yeah, I think I did take the test series from Fitchi and Resonance. I remember, like it used to come into my mail. Like every month, they used to send some study material, and along with that, some sealed test, right?
Hmm.
Which I used to take to track my progress, right? And I used to take those tests to my individual teachers too, right? Like if I gave the exam, let's say a three-hour exam on a Sunday,
Hmm.
then in the Monday class, I used to take that after the class and ask doubts, right, about some of the questions which I thought, okay, these were really difficult. You need
Hmm.
to help me out. Like, how do I crack these questions, right? So I
Hmm.
used to take those test series, and even the test series which the individual teachers gave, they had a similar standard or they had a similar benchmark as compared to the bigger institutes. So I think it worked out. Yeah, like
Yeah, got
comparing
it.
those two side by side, yeah, it worked
Uh-huh.
out.
Got it, got
Yeah,
it. I took FITZY test series as well, but I don't know,
yeah,
man. I just felt like some of the
yeah,
FITZY questions were too crazy. I mean, when I
yeah,
would
yeah,
take that to my teachers, they are like, no, FITZY would
yeah.
just do it to
Hmm.
scare all the people that are not in FITZY. And I was like,
Yeah,
okay, so
yeah.
good,
That
man.
happened with me too. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Back those days, those Fiji and those tests, the 6 hour test every weekend, right? The
Oh
9
yeah,
to 12
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
2 to 5. Very
Yeah,
how
I think yeah.
uh-huh.
I remember every Sunday I used to give like one 6 hour test, like one in the morning, one in the afternoon, just as a
Yeah.
practice. And
Yeah.
I used to do it for, I think I did it for 3 months before the actual exam. Like I
Mhm.
gave what 12 tests, 12 uh, kind of practice test to see how I'm doing. And there was
Yeah.
ups and downs. Like if you make a graph of it, like
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
in terms of the marks with every practice test, like it was a roller coaster ride. But yeah.
Wow, good
So
old days. How was
yeah.
your day of the exam?
Hmm.
Like, did you so
Hmm.
how about one day before exam? Did you
Yeah.
had some special approach for the day when you give exam, or was
Mm-hmm.
it just regularly you gave it? Because for me, my teachers told my parents one day before he should not study anything, so I
Yep.
didn't touch anything a day before. And
Yeah.
I had my pencil sharpened,
Yeah.
six
Yeah.
pencils, so that I don't spend time sharpening pencils. So I had that kind of
Yeah.
preparation.
Mm-hmm.
How was yours preparation for that day, and how did you
Mm-hmm.
feel after giving the exam? Did you feel like you did
Mm-hmm.
great, or you were not
Yeah.
sure?
I think I'll agree with you too. Like even my parents told that, yeah, you should not like touch anything the day before. It's just, I don't know how it works out, but it
Oh.
just, yeah, it was the same thing to for me too. Like my mother said, like, just watch TV, just do whatever you want, but not touch any of the books, because if you revise anything last minute and if you find something which you're not able to solve, it's going to disturb your entire preparation for tomorrow, right? Like it's going to
Mm,
disturb your confidence. It's going to disturb everything which you have studied for to date, right? So
mm,
it that's the reason I think my parents said that, yeah, you should not touch anything. You are prepared, you are good to go. Everything is good, just don't open any of the books. So yeah, that's what
wow.
I did too. And same for the pencils, like just preparing everything for the next day. And I always made sure to have a good enough breakfast, like a good heavy breakfast, because I felt really hungry. Like after the first morning 3-hour session, I was really hungry. Like I don't know how, even like my mind was running so fast. And I think since I didn't do any physical activity, to be honest, right? Like I was so surprised that, like, if even if you have a big breakfast in the morning, it's gonna be
Mm,
vanished in the next 3 hours.
mm,
Like,
mm,
and again, like you cannot go too heavy because otherwise you'll feel sluggish, right? Like not a really high carb rich diet, but just a good balanced diet in the morning. And then when you finish the first 3 hours, I was so surprised that, okay, how am I feeling so hungry at this time? Like, and my mother sent the tiffin and everything with, like, I think I had like 6 to 7 rotis for the lunch. Like I was like so like I was so hungry
wow.
at that time. I don't know why. Yeah,
Wow.
and I
So,
think after, like, in the afternoon session, I just made sure that I don't have any rice, because rice will cause that sleepiness in the afternoon. So just avoided that. And the afternoon session went great too, because again, even in the evening, my father came to just ask me, like, okay, how did it go? I was like, yeah, I think it went good. Not a lot of negative marking, and I think it went great. Like I had a good feeling towards the end of the day. And I told him that I'm again feeling hungry. We need to go out. We need to go for dinner today. Like we're not eating at home. Let's just celebrate this day. Like let's just end it with a good
yeah,
note. So
yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
during that 12 to 2,
yeah,
you said you had tiffin. So you, after
yeah,
exam, were you just outside the
yeah.
examination center? You didn't go
Just
back to
outside
your
there.
home?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was far away because my hometown, it's called Durg. So Durg is about 5 to 6 kilometers away from Bhilai, where the test center was. So my
Mm-hmm.
father was afraid that if he gets stuck in traffic or something, he just didn't want to take a chance. So he just stayed there throughout. I think
Uh-huh.
the 3 hours he was staying in the car, and then even those 2 hours he was with me 12 to 2, and then like from 2 to 5 he was just like sitting in the parking lot.
Mm.
That's it.
Wow. So much they did
Yeah,
for us, man.
exactly.
So much they did for us. And
Yeah,
for those 2 hours, were you in the car eating and then just took a nap or
yeah. Just
just
took a nap
chilled
there.
out?
Like just put the seat
Yeah.
flat and just took a nap there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know the way you spoke it, and I think it's
Hmm.
true. It sounds like Olympics, like you're prepared, the carbs and the diet, and
Yeah.
for that day, everyone is like so prepared. Oh, this is the day, and
Yeah.
you give your best. So you felt good. The exam went well, and
Yeah.
then you
Hmm.
probably did those early,
Yeah.
answer sheets. You check where
Yeah.
you are, and kind of
Hmm.
when you felt like okay, seems
Yeah.
like you're gonna make it, and
Yeah.
then do you remember the result day?
Oh yeah.
What happened on the day of the result?
That was a crazy day too, because I remember the internet was not good. I don't know. That was the day it shows that the internet was not working at home. So I did, like, I think,
Okay.
because even the website too, right? It was so jammed with so many people checking for the ranks, right? So I
Yeah.
think I didn't have good success in finding the rank at home, so I did have to go to like an internet center where I just took a system, like just told them, yeah,
Mm.
just take my money and just give me the system for 1 hour, and like,
Okay.
yeah, I think ultimately when I found out, and my mother was there with me because my father was on a construction site, so he was not available at that time. So I took my mother with me,
Mm.
and then she saw the rank and I saw the rank. I was like, it's done. It is done. Right? I mean, I was not even expecting a good rank to begin with, because the amount of preparation I had, keeping in mind, again, those two things, right? Like the school coursework and the competitive exams, I was not expecting a really good rank, let's say in the top 100 or so in the country. And I just wanted to
Mm.
get in the game, right? Just to get a
Mm.
rank to begin my studies in any of the IITs, right? And then I can figure out my next steps,
Mhm.
like I did, right? Like I joined the metallurgy branch
Yeah.
and then changed my branch to civil. So I think it
Mm.
was perfect. Like I had some of my friends who used to keep saying me, like, I think you're doing a wrong
Mhm.
thing by studying for the school coursework. You should spend your 100%, like you should give your 100% on the competitive exams. And some of
Mhm.
those friends were not clear the competitive exam at that time, and they also didn't go, like, do quite well in their school coursework too, in the 12th grade.
Mhm.
So they reached out to me first and asking me, did you get into the exam? I was like, yeah, I just got 3,200 rank. And they were surprised. Okay,
Mm.
how did you do it? And they were asking me questions, and I was like, I think it just worked out.
Mhm.
So I explained them. I mean, towards, I think 1 or 2 days after, they came to
Yeah.
my house, and I explained them, like, why I had that strategy in my mind, because I didn't want to lose one thing just because the other thing is so important, right? Like, you need to have that balance, and they ultimately understood that, and they were able to get into NITs. Like, they also are pretty much excelling in their careers to date. And it's just that at that point of time,
Mhm.
they didn't have their priorities straight. So I think that's something which you need to, like, figure out to begin with,
Mhm.
like to begin your studies. And you need to be absolutely clear, like talk to people, talk to so many of your peers,
Yeah.
parents. They're going to guide you properly, and I think that gives you a good head start, right? So that's what I had to, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Wow, man. It worked out
Yeah.
very well. And you know what? What I'm
Mm,
realizing that you kind of have always taken a
mm,
approach which is different from 95% of the people. Like in
yeah.
during those days, you were managing both the
Yeah.
things collectively. Then in the college, you chose
Mm,
civil, which 95%
no.
would not choose. And I think that continues today as well. You are in the
Hmm.
core
Yeah.
civil engineering, and whereas I would think majority of engineers are not in their core, they ventured out and did
Yeah.
different things. So those are the traces you can see back
Hmm.
then. So how was your experience
Hmm.
then getting into
Yeah.
IIT? Have you seen IIT before getting into IIT,
Mm,
or getting into IIT was your first time in the rookie? And then how was those
mm,
first few months, first few weeks? The expectation
yeah.
hits the reality. Speak about a
Yeah, I
little bit of
mean,
that.
because of that information session at IIT Kharagpur, I did have a look at an IIT before, not in that detailed sense, right?
Yeah.
But it gave me an idea, like
Hmm.
how such an institute looks like. Like, it's a big campus, there's so many buildings,
Yeah.
like, you have to travel a lot between the buildings. I was just making those calculations in my mind, because I it's something which I do a lot. Like, I always keep planning in my mind for something. I don't know. I might not even know about it, but there's something always going on in my mind, and that's what happened at IIT Kharagpur when I went for my information session. And when I came to IIT Roorkee, it was
Hmm.
completely different, because first of all, it was beautiful. All the buildings were like, oh, this is something I had
Hmm.
never expected. Like, I mean, you're always used to looking those rectangular buildings. You're going to classes too, right? Like, nothing fancy, nothing really architectural. architecturally good looking, right? So that is something which I saw that in the first time when I roamed around in the institute, like went to the main building, library, everything, right? So that was something which struck my eye first time. And second thing was obviously the homesickness. It went on for a few months because this is the first time you're going out of your house for a really long
Mhm.
time. And that is
Yeah.
something which stayed for, I think it was about 6 months or so. Like it on and on. I used to sometimes
Mhm.
cry, like when I was alone in the room, and just think about like how I'm gonna get out of this feeling, right? Like that is something which always bothered me, always, right? So that was the second thing, and I think
Mhm.
just with the time as it passed by, making friends, trying to get different life experiences, trying to figure out things by your own. I think that's something you get uh, in an institute which is outside your comfort zone, right? That was something IIT Roorkee to me. It was outside my
Mhm.
comfort zone, right? So that kind of taught me a lot of lessons,
Mhm.
how to deal with people, um, how to achieve your goals even with so many unknowns around you, right? That is something like in those 4 years,
Mhm.
I give a huge credit to IIT Roorkee
Mhm.
because that prepared for the next phase of my life. So yeah, I think that pretty much sums up. Yeah.
And how was seeing all those different students who all are like really
Oh yeah.
different? That exposure of coming to a place where you have
Hmm.
the national crowd, but till the time we are in 12th, and if we are studying in our hometown,
Yeah.
I did the same. You meet people of your hometown who are pretty much
Hmm.
like you, and when you go to national institute, you meet like
Yeah. Yeah.
national people. How did you view that? Did you had any
Yeah.
insecurities like, man, how am I gonna compete with these
I think I
kids?
did. I did have some of those insecurities because I think, especially coming from central India, like all the way to northern India, like it's the first thing which hit me was almost all of the people didn't know where my state was, right? Like the state of Chhattisgarh, they were like, "Where is this state? Like we have never seen it in a
Mhm.
map before." I was like, "Okay, there it is." I opened Google Maps in front of them all the time, right? So that is something which kind of bothered me to begin with, and
Okay.
then the insecurities about most of the people in my branch, and even like in our entire batch, right? Most of the people were from Kota, like they have seen that kind of competitive environment before, where it's just like hundreds and thousands of students appearing for the same exam, and I am like
Uh,
myself coming from a small town with only that limited tunnel vision, right? That okay, this is how
mhm.
things are supposed to happen. So I think it was a big realization for me talking to
Mhm.
those people, like talking to people from various cultural backgrounds too, right? Like not just a Hindi speaking person like me, like
Mhm.
meeting a Bengali person or a Tamilian or like any, like India is so diverse, right? So it was, I think it was exhilarating to begin with.
Mhm.
It was exciting, and it was also kind of scary, right? Like how do you deal with so many different kind of cultural backgrounds, and
Mhm.
also at the same time you have to study and get good scores to do that branch change, right? Like there were so many distractions to begin with, and
Yeah.
it definitely took some
Yeah.
time, a few months I would say, to get focused and make sure that you are moving towards your goal rather than getting distracted with so many things happening around you, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, I think
Yeah.
I agree with you that there were some like
Mhm.
there were some difficulties which were there to
Mhm.
begin with. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like few specific thing. One example coming to
Hmm.
my mind is in my hometown, we would
Yeah.
just say there, matlab, in my house,
Yeah.
uh, darwaza de de, which means
Haha.
close the door.
Okay.
So when I went to IIT Roorkee and I told my friend darwaza de de, he was like, how would I give you no? So just those small
Okay.
things, like it's just the
Yeah.
common day-to-day language in my home and
Yeah.
hometown. But when you go to a national place, people just have their own things, and
Yeah.
so those small
Hmm.
events are coming to my mind. So it was good. And
Yeah.
in your college, if I ask, like maybe the best moment you had in your college,
Hmm.
uh, I know you would have a lot of
A lot of
best
them.
moments during those 4 years,
Yeah.
but maybe one few that comes to your mind so that people get a glimpse
Hmm.
of,
Hmm.
the excitement or the great joy you can have in IITs?
I think the best moment I would say was I remember like we started applying for all these foreign internships, right, during our late second year, right? And then the results
Yeah, yeah.
started coming in, and I got into three universities for the research internships, and that was kind of the best moment because I was like, I had choices to go to any of these continents. I mean, this one of the offers was from Canada, one of those offers from Germany, and one of those from New Zealand, right? So I was like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, this is something I would have never got in my lifetime, and that was the best moment to even decide out of these three options where do you want to go and how
Yeah.
it will change my future, right? Like if I go to New Zealand, what's going to happen? Like Germany, Canada, right? Like, and
Yeah.
this is going to be my first trip outside India, right? So that was really
Mm-hmm.
like it was exhilarating for me. Like, okay, this is something out of the world. Like I never thought that I'd be going out of India to do a research internship and also spend time like with the other colleagues there, like even professors,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think that was a top moment
Mm-hmm.
uh, entirely like in those 4 years. And when I
Yeah.
went there, when I came back, I went to New Zealand. Like that was my choice at that time, and that's when
Uh-huh.
the seed was starting to grow into a tree of doing a master's in the future, right? Because the research was so exciting that okay, I don't want to stop at just a bachelor's. Like I just want to keep studying and see how
Mm.
this field is, right? So yeah, I think that was the
Mm-hmm.
top moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree because very few people
Mm.
actually get those opportunities of foreign interns.
Yeah.
So, how about you give some advice
Hmm.
or tell people or students who are in college
Hmm.
how to get a foreign intern?
Yeah. I think again, time is of essence, right? So like if you start early, you're gonna get a foreign internship, and it's in the sense that like from your second year, you need to start looking for options in this sense, like wherever you are studying, whichever IIT or whichever NIT, like even uh, any of the other institutions in India, like who are registered with AICTE, right? There is a lot of partner institutions. If you check your website of your institution, you can see there's a lot of partner institutions throughout the world which offers these kind of internship opportunities for different years, right? For second year, third year, fourth year, and some of those things people like again students in their first and second year they would not have an idea about. It's something you can talk about with your friends if you're really interested, and then when talking to your friends you can basically do a research together. Like just Google is a big source of information, and you need to be using that source for better use, right? Like for your own betterment. So I think that's what I did too. Like second year
Mm-hmm.
onwards, I was talking to various seniors at that time, and I just figured out that okay, some of these students are going to Canada, some of these students are going to Germany. Okay, what are they doing? Like I just talked to them. Okay, how did you apply for it? How do I search for these kind of opportunities? Right? There are some certain blogs,
Mm-hmm.
certain websites which you can look into where which provides these kind of opportunities. Right? So if you start your game early, I think you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna get into a foreign internship, and then through that experience, you will also see how to apply for masters because it's a very similar application, right? Like if you want to do further studies, the way you're applying for research
Mm-hmm.
internships outside India, it would be a very similar application when you
Mm-hmm.
apply for your masters outside India, right? So it gives you a head start, I would say, right? Once you go through those applications, I had to write a statement of purpose. I had to get cover letters. I had to get recommendation letters, right? So that kind of gears you toward that future process, right? So yeah, I think those were the things which I did at my time. Again, it was 10 years back, but
Mm-hmm.
things might have
Mm-hmm.
changed right now. But again,
Mm-hmm.
there are so many opportunities out there that you need to keep looking out for. I can like if needed, I can basically create a list of some of those opportunities which are still alive to date, like some of those internship
Mm-hmm.
opportunities like close with time, like they have, like for example University of Auckland in New Zealand where I did my internship. They had that program open for like
Mm-hmm.
5 years because they wanted to attract more students for masters or PhD, right? But they saw that they were not getting a lot of students converted, like from research internship to a master's. They were not seeing that kind of improvement, so they closed that program, right? Similarly, there is a
Mm-hmm.
program in Canada called MyTax, right? So MyTax is something which all the Canadian universities participate in, and they give out a list of research projects which are going on for each professor. And when you apply for that MyTax internship program, you have the choice to choose your project, right? Like it can be in any engineering field, any science, like basically STEM, right? Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So any of those fields, you can choose your project and you can apply for it, right? So all these kind of opportunities you can find on Google, find on different blogs. Even there are YouTube videos which you can look at to understand where are these opportunities, right?
Yep.
And if you start early, let's say in the second year, I think you're going to get it. Yeah,
There's a quote
yeah,
which is methods are many, principles are few. So
yeah,
the principle you shared is,
exactly.
I think, yeah, it's 10
Yeah,
years, so the methods might have changed, but the principle probably is still the
hmm,
same. So anyone
stays the same.
who wants
Yeah,
to apply, go for it. A lot of people actually
yeah.
get these for an intern. So you got in second year, Baba? After
Hmm.
your second year, you did that?
Uh,
Or
I
third
think it
year?
was close to third year starting because I started applying second year, second semester, and then it went into the third year, first semester too, right? Because
Uh-huh.
our internship was after third year, first semester. So yeah, I think it went through. Like all those applications pretty much took, I
So
would say, 6 months of my time. Yeah,
what did you do after third year?
yeah,
Because we have like optional
hmm,
internship after second year, but a compulsory intern
yeah,
after third year. So where were you after third
yeah.
year?
Sorry. So okay, I think I misspoke before. So this internship was actually after the third year. So I
Okay.
started preparing for it. Like I prepared
Mm,
for it like after the second year ended, and then I started applying to these programs whenever I think their deadlines were coming up soon, by the third year first semester, and then
okay.
after the third year second semester, everyone went for their internships, the compulsory
Yeah.
internships.
Yeah. Got it.
So most of my third year went into those, like finding out
Mm,
those opportunities and then applying for it. Yeah,
got it. So
yeah,
after second year, did intern or
hmm,
were you at home? Because it's optional, not everyone does it.
yeah.
So how was for you?
I think yeah, second year I did do an internship. It was again local. There was a construction project going on in Raipur at that time, so it was about 40 kilometers away from my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
And my father said that it would be a good opportunity. Like he can talk to the builder there, and basically you can go to the site every day, learn something new on a construction site, right? What's going on,
Yeah.
whichever phase they were at. I just went to the site, made notes. It was a very informal internship. Like nothing
Mm,
was set in paper. It was
yeah.
just that you just go to the site, have a visit for 4 or 5 hours, and just learn. Like just
Mm,
ask questions to the foremen, the construction people, what you're doing. Just tell them
mm,
about yourself, that okay, you're studying in this institute and you're just here for uh, like understanding what's going on at this point of the project, right?
mm,
They were building AIMS, right? So All India Institute of Medical Sciences, right? They were building the main campus and the hostel
yeah.
buildings around. So
Mm,
I think at that time I did the internship for 3 months, and then
okay.
basically wrote a report out of it, like whatever I learned, and then presented
Mhm.
that when I came back. So
Got it. Yeah, I think
yeah,
it generally the second year intern is you get it from your
mm,
parents or relatives or someone,
yeah,
someone knows someone.
pretty
And
much.
third year is where you actually get it by yourself.
Yeah,
You have to do it
exactly.
your own thing. So that's
Hmm,
third year. And I guess then now I can extrapolate after you
hmm,
came back from Auckland, then you wanted to do your
yeah,
master's, right? Then,
yeah.
okay.
Yes, yeah. I think after visiting there, I got a pretty clear idea that what I wanted to do, like even for masters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because within civil engineering, there is primarily six sub areas which you can work on, right? So there is transportation, there is hydraulics, there is geotechnical, which I'm doing currently. There is surveying, then there is structural engineering, and there is construction management, right? So there's this big six fields within civil engineering. You can choose either of those depending on your interest. And since my internship in Auckland was geotechnical engineering.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I got exposed to, and I started loving it immediately, right? Because of the variability in the whole field itself, right? Geotech is something which you are dealing with the earth, right? Like you are trying to build your foundations, your tunnels, anything underground. You are
Mm-hmm.
dealing with a very complex material, which is gonna keep the job exciting for years to come, because soil and rock, these are these are some of the materials which humans have still not understood fully, right? Anything above ground which you see, any of the structures, concrete, steel, these are very like clearly understood materials. Like there is a proper, what do you call, again going into the lot of science terms, but you have a proper stress strain relationships, and you know how the material is going to behave when you start loading it up or when you start unloading it, right? But
Mm-hmm.
soils and rock, there can be
Mm-hmm.
anything. You move 3 feet away from where you're standing right now, the soil is
Mm-hmm.
going to be completely different. There is so
Wow.
much variability and so much, what do you call, it's so complex. The nature earth is so
Mm-hmm.
complex that
Mm-hmm.
that's what kind of told me to begin with, that okay, if you go into this field, your job is never going to get boring. So I think that's when I started to feel that okay, this is something I should do further research or further, like even studies, right? So
Mm-hmm.
third year when I came back, fourth year began with our minor and major projects, and during that time I started applying for universities outside India, right? Like it was primarily United States that time, because I had a
Okay.
pretty good feel from what my seniors were telling at that time, right? In terms
Mm-hmm.
of funding opportunities, and in terms of because obviously, like you're doing a master's outside India, it's going to be expensive, right? So you need to
Mm-hmm.
have a better idea about the funding scenarios at each universities, and which are the good universities to begin with, right? Civil,
Mm-hmm.
a university which is good for computer science might not be good for
Yeah.
civil engineering, right? So you need to make sure that you are choosing the right places to do your masters, and all that kind of research went into that fourth year.
Got
So
it. Got it. So you
yeah,
spoke about those
yeah,
vertical, six vertical of civil engineering. So I kind of get some sense of each one except
hmm,
the hydraulics one. What's the
yeah,
role in hydraulic?
yeah. Hydraulics basically takes into account all the structures which are connected with water, right? So basically, your
Okay.
dams, your culverts, your um, like viaducts, right? Wherever you're transporting water, either on a prepared surface or a natural surface, right? So there is flows
Okay.
of water. Like even if you see those ocean shorelines, right? You might have seen some
Mm,
walls
mm,
which will have that hydraulic influence, right? So that's what
mm,
like
mm,
and now hydraulics is so advanced, it has got into the
mm,
climate change industry too, right? Because you are studying how floods are happening
mm,
throughout the world. You are studying the climate
mm,
change is like either worsening or bettering some of the areas of the earth, right? Like the areas which are close to equator,
mm,
they're going to get worse and worse,
mhm.
and then the areas which are away from the equator, closer towards the poles, they're going to get better and better, right? So those kind of studies also come into the hydraulics point of view, right? Seeing the annual
Okay.
rainfall patterns, and yeah, all those things. Yeah,
So that's hydraulics. You spoke
yeah.
about the geotechnical. What do you call it?
Geotechnical, geotechnical. Yeah,
Geotechnical.
yeah,
And transportation, I would think, is
hmm,
more about the roads and all
yeah.
those systems,
Roads, bridges,
like
highways, like
bridges,
anything. Yeah,
highways.
hmm,
And then you said structural. Is that more
yeah.
about designs of the building, making sure you have
Buildings, yeah.
right number of
Mhm.
what do you call
Columns,
it? Those.
beams, yeah. All those, yeah.
Okay.
Hmm,
So that's fourth. What are the
yeah.
other two?
Fifth one is the surveying. It's called geomatics, right?
Okay.
So surveying basically figuring
Okay.
out how you're going to build anything, right? Like it needs to be built on a specific benchmark. You need to go, let's say, 5 meters high, 3 meters side, all those kind of measurements. It all comes under
Mhm.
geomatics. And the advanced application, you can see Google Maps, right? That's a lot of surveying which the
Mhm.
satellites are doing for us, right? So whenever you open
Okay.
a city, right, you can measure the distance between the buildings so easily, right? It's all because of the geomatics, right? And there's like uh,
Okay.
there is a drone service, right? Like you take a drone, you take a video of the site from above, and then
Mm,
you can see how the site is graded, right? Let's say there is a ditch here, there is a mountain here. You need to take this mountain away, make it
mm.
flat, and then build the building on top of it, right? That comes under
Okay,
geomatics. That's, you can call it surveying too.
got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So basically,
Yeah.
you're inspecting area, preparing reports, and giving recommendation on how to
Hmm.
change the landscape so that
Yeah.
you can do what you want to do. So that's
Hmm.
fifth.
Yeah.
And what's the sixth one?
Sixth one was the construction management. So kind of handling it all.
Okay,
So
got it.
like
Project
finances,
management,
project
sort of.
management. Yeah. Hmm.
Sort of. Okay,
Yeah.
so these are six big verticals in civil engineering. Good to
Exactly.
know. I'm
Yeah.
learning
Yeah.
about civil. Yeah.
Yeah.
So because like for me, when you're
Mm.
filling those branches, I actually didn't know
Mm.
we have branches in IITs when I was giving exams. So after
Hmm.
exam, when I realized, oh, now we need to select branches, and
Okay.
I was asking one or two seniors or
Yeah.
teachers. So mechanical, okay, I know it's a car, and
Hmm.
then civil, okay, I know it's about buildings. But now it's like, okay, yeah, in civil, building is there, but then
Yeah.
there are these six
Hmm.
components are there. Got it.
Yeah.
So then you came for masters. Did you sit for placements or you did not?
I think I did. Again, that balance thing came into picture again. So I when I was applying for universities, I had an idea that okay, if I
Yeah.
take the worst case scenario, if I don't get selected for any of those
Uh-huh.
universities I'm applying to, what do I have, right? Like what is the plan B or the
Mm,
alternative B, right? So
mm,
that's why I sat for the
mm,
interviews. And again, like some of the starting interviews, I think first one was Capital One, and the minute I sat for the interview, I got an idea that this is not for me. Like this is something not into the core
mm,
engineering, right? And then I think
mm,
after that I started. I think I turned away some of those interviews which I was getting selected to because it was not in the core field. So I did have to wait for
mm,
some of the
mm,
core companies to come to placements, and then I started going
mm,
there again. And I think I got selected for
mm,
Midas. That was a company in South Korea,
mm.
which works on civil engineering
Wow.
softwares, right? So that was something.
Mm,
Okay,
mm,
this is something I can see my application to, right? Like I can definitely
mm,
not in the coding side of it, but I can explain the engineering side of it to the coders when I join the job, right? So that was a good opportunity for me. I ultimately, when I got selected for my masters, then I had to make that decision that what do I need to do now? Like go with this job
yeah.
or continue my studies, right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
So that job was posted in South Korea,
Yes, it
or
was
was
in
it
Seoul. Yeah,
in India?
it was in Seoul, South Korea. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
So you had to make a call whether go
Yeah.
to South Korea, do a
Yeah.
job, earn money, or
Yeah.
study, which is doing masters. So
Yeah.
you chose masters to
Yes.
study more.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
So I think there's one thing I ask guests is what roadmap would you give to
Hmm.
students who is in the first year,
Yeah.
and then I ask them what would be your advice for the student in fourth year. So
Hmm.
I think you we already spoke on that,
Hmm.
but maybe if you can
Yeah.
summarize, uh, what is your advice for first year student? Like
Hmm.
how should he live those 4 year? What should be strategy?
Yeah.
And then advice for fourth year student, like how do they figure out,
Hmm.
do they want to do MBA, UPSC,
Yeah.
civil? So how do they figure those two pieces out?
I think for the first year, depending on how clear their mind is in the sense that whatever branch they chose to begin with in the first year, whether they are getting the feeling that they can do this long term, right? So that is the first question which a
Mm,
student needs to ask himself or herself, that whether I'm in the correct field or not, right? That is what I did too, because I knew
mhm,
since the beginning that I'll not be enjoying the work in metallurgical engineering field, right? So that's what triggered me to do my
mhm,
task, right? So that is the first question for the first year students, that okay, you need to ask yourself, am I in the right field, right? If you are, then you're good to go. That then you can keep studying, you can keep focusing on your ultimate goal of again, like in the next 4 years things can change. You need to be open to that, open to that feeling that you don't need to set things in stone right now at the first year stage. You need to keep it open, you need
Mhm.
to keep it flexible, you need to be open opportunities, right? So I've seen this, like I've seen some of the first year students like just deciding their next 5 years that this is going to happen, right?
Mhm.
This is going to happen the way I
Mhm.
want. But if things don't go as of their plan, then they start getting confused and also sometimes demotivated, right? Okay, what do I do now? They feel puzzled, right? So I think that's one of the main suggestions or advice from me, to keep things open, keep things flexible in the first year. Keep talking to your seniors, keep talking to your friends, like students, just to get an idea about what they are feeling towards their own choices, right? Because sometimes you can learn a lot from others when they their own choices, right? And then you can apply those things to your situation, right? So I mean, for me, it was pretty clear that I want to pursue civil engineering, so it went as smoothly as it can. But if someone is
Mhm.
not clear, then that person has to talk to a lot of people and get a better feel. Like I used to do this kind of counseling even when I graduated. I used to do this kind of counseling with my like relatives kids, and like they were also coming up like age, and when they were ready for these competitive examinations, I used to tell them, like, talk to people like you're talking to me, right? And then get an idea about all the fields
Mhm.
possible, right? Like, let's say you're a mechanical engineering student and you're
Mhm.
not liking the subjects in your first semester. You need to figure that out. Okay, I'm not liking the subjects in my
Mhm.
first year, or like even the first semester. And we know, right, the coursework is pretty what do you call, distributed. You have one course from each field, right? Like you have a course for mechanical, you have a course for
Yeah.
computer science, you have a course for civil, right? Like you get exposed to all the engineering fields to begin with, right? And that's your questioning time, that okay,
Yeah.
am I made for this? I'm going to do better in this in the future or not? Or will I get bored with this in the future, right? Some of these questions they need to keep
Mhm.
asking themselves and
Mhm.
keep talking to people, so that they keep getting a better idea every day, right? In their first year, they don't need to
Mhm.
they don't need to
Yeah.
set plans in stone that okay, I need to do this my parents are telling me to do. I think they need to
Mhm.
get that feeling out of their minds, because that's gonna be, I think that's not gonna be good in the long term, right? It's something like, my father didn't force me to be a civil engineer. It was my decision. So it has to be your decision at the end of the day, right?
Mhm.
Uh, I think for fourth year
Mhm.
students,
Yeah.
I think some of these principles still apply, because you still haven't settled in your life to make some big decisions, right? Like, for example, after you finish your bachelor's, there's always an option to do an MBA, a master's, UPSC, as you told, even to do a job and then figure out whether you need to do studies later, right? So, those kind of options, keeping it open and then
Yeah.
talking to people from various backgrounds, that's going to help you gain a better understanding of what you want to do with your life, right? And fourth year, I think
Yeah.
just to be abreast with all the technological options out there, like in the sense that sometimes I've seen, even in our times, right, like the search engines were not that powerful, and even the internet itself was pretty slower, right? Like now it's an age of data. Like the more data you
Mhm.
have, the better decision you can make, right?
Yeah.
So I think to keep yourself up to date with the current technology, the current market, the current like the scenario, the world scenario, right? Like I know people used to hate politics. Okay, what do we learn from the politics going on in the world, right? But to be honest, you can learn a lot
Mhm.
from how countries are acting with each other, right? Like you can see the war situation in Ukraine. Like you can understand how the dynamics would be changing in the future, and it's how it's going to impact you as a person, right? Let's say if you were to go to US for further studies, and let's say like a government comes which makes it very difficult for students to get a student visa, right? Then you know that okay, this is something which I should not take. This is something which you should not, I should stay away from, because it's going to create further issues in my career, right? Then you need to start looking for options in Europe, or
Mhm.
even like local options within India, right? because India is booming right now, and like the economy, it's heading in the right direction, and I think they need to keep their options open, right? Like it can be, they can go to Europe, they can go to like Southeast Asia. There is like a lot of good institutions there. Yeah, I mean it's a big world.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think lot of people said that what you're saying as well is just talk to the people who have done it.
Yeah.
They will share a lot from their
Hmm.
experience, and that's one of the
Yeah.
intention for this podcast is so that people can listen to people who have done this
Hmm.
and have seen much more than what they are seeing. So
Yeah.
I'm sure people, and we have very few people
Hmm.
who are in the core, So what you are sharing, and I can see like from beginning, you wanted to do the core and you enjoyed it, and
Hmm.
you keep pursuing that dream, and then
Yeah.
you came to US to do your masters, and
Hmm.
uh, during your masters in US, if you can speak about the
Yeah.
differences in the education
Hmm.
system in US and India,
Yeah.
maybe highlight few of the differences for just the audience so that
Yeah.
they can also understand the educational difference in these two countries, which have very different systems.
Yeah. I think the main difference which I found was like US education, like the later education. I'm not talking about the high school or the bachelor education, right? Like the baccalaureate courses, but the
Mhm.
master's courses and the PhD courses even, they had a more like heightened focus in the understanding of the subject rather than solving a few questions and just clearing the course. Like the focus or the aim was not to pass the course, right? Like in India, we are always concerned about, okay, how are we going to pass this course, how are we going to solve these questions and just get done with it, right? That's not the
Mhm.
thinking in the US like higher education, right? Especially the masters and PhD courses, and even in the bachelor's courses I found that they used to have open book exams, right? Which is, I think,
Mhm.
it's going to help the student in the long run because they don't have to worry about memorizing a lot of formulas or memorizing like these paragraphs. This is something they have to write as an answer to a question, right? That is something which the Indian education system needs to stray away from. I believe that open book exams and having to have those questions where you need to think out loud. Okay, how am I going to solve this question? And you know what? Another thing was the questions which I saw in the master's exams. They didn't have a definite answer. Like there was no like the answer is 10. No, it's not like that. You have to come up with an answer which makes sense for the question which was given to you, right? Even like in some of the
Mhm.
advanced civil engineering courses which I did in my masters, there were some scenarios which were actually happening in real world. Like there was in one of the exams I got only one question. It was a state in some like X town, right? uh, they were having issues with, let's say, a bridge foundation, right? And I mean, I'm just talking
Mhm.
very like layman terms, but the question was all about how are you going to fix it, right? Like the question was not about finding an answer, like is it going to be 10, is it going to be 15? No, that was not the question about. It
Mhm.
was question about how it's going to be, like how what's going to be your process in fixing this issue, right? So that's a big difference, I think. Like US education, even like any North American or European education, is about getting a deep understanding of the subject itself rather than memorizing a lot of formulas like which you used to do in like Indian education system. So yeah.
Gotcha. Very beautifully
Yeah.
explained. Uh, and then you did your job after
That's
masters.
yeah.
Why
Mhm.
not do a PhD?
Mhm.
Because this is something I have to ask you. You've been in the core. You wanted to study more.
Yeah.
You did your
Yeah.
masters, and then after master, you can do more, and you can go on to the route of PhDs
Yeah.
and professor and continue new research in
Yeah.
that field, or you can be in industry and continue to work. So why did you choose this
Yeah, I
option?
think it was more of a personal situation. Like when I joined the master's course in Purdue, I think I had the research funding for the first semester in terms of a teaching assistantship, right? So the first semester I
Mm-hmm.
was well funded and it went very smooth with two of my courses. And then I think second semester onwards, I was not sure about my funding situation, right? Like both of my professors, they said that we'll have to apply for research grants and see how it goes, right? So when I joined first, I had an intention of finishing a PhD at Purdue, right? Basically spending 6 to 7 years, including my master's and PhD. But as semesters passed by, I got that feeling that getting
Mm-hmm.
research funding is more difficult as compared to, like, basically writing these research grants is very cumbersome. It was taking a lot of time out of my coursework studies, right? So, and then
Mm-hmm.
there were 3 to 4 research groups within the Department of Civil Engineering, which one of which I was working for, and that research group didn't go well with the other research groups. Like they were not in good speaking terms. So I think that kind of showed me that if I do a PhD with this research group, it's going to take longer than expected, right? And sometimes, like I even talking to some of the seniors there, again, that's the same thing I did. Some of the
Mm-hmm.
students in the past have left their PhDs unfinished because of the same reason that that
Mm-hmm.
particular research group didn't have good talking terms. There was no collaboration going on within the different research groups. And PhD, you need a lot of help from outside as much as possible. Like you can keep doing your work, but you need a lot of support from other professors, other
Mm-hmm.
research associates, right? Like you need to make sure that you're covering that topic from each and every possible angle, right? So I think looking at all those situations and also my personal financial situation, I just
Mm-hmm.
decided to do a job after masters. Even like I had to do a non-thesis masters because there wasn't even funding for a thesis masters to begin with, right? So I just did a
Mm-hmm.
non-thesis master, finished that, and did a job right after. And then once I started doing a job, I felt that big disconnect between the industry and the research. Like especially in my field, the research is running.
Mm-hmm.
The current research which is running, it's actually 40 years behind. Like if you do a job in my industry, you will see that things are still running as if
Mm-hmm.
we are 30, 40 years older than the current time, like because there's still old methods of
Mm-hmm.
investigation, like providing recommendations, as we were talking about for these different structures. uh, Even if I had done a
Mm-hmm.
PhD with a research topic in my mind, I would not be applying that into the industry for another 20, 30 years. So I thought that maybe this is not for me. I want something which gives me immediate gratification of my work which I'm doing, right? Like when I was working, first 2 years were completely in the field. Like I was going on different construction sites, working with the drill rigs, like just understanding the whole like employment, right? Like how it's going to work with all these projects. And then slowly and slowly I moved into an office
Mm-hmm.
role, like pretty much analyzing what I was collecting in the field, and then also doing some of those
Mm-hmm.
designs myself, right? So as time passed by, I found that this kind of learning which I'm getting on the job, I wouldn't have got it if I had done a PhD, right? So that's something which kind of opened my eyes to see that doing a job in my industry will give you a better experience as compared to doing a PhD. Again, people might have different reasons to do a PhD if they
Mm-hmm.
especially want to go into the academic field, right? Like if they want to become professors,
Yeah.
assistant professors in the future. But I think we have a good example, right? So Shobhan, so he
Mm-hmm.
actually like finished his PhD and his postdoctorate, and to become a professor in IIT right now. So it was his personal decision, and I think based on the personal situation I was in, I think it worked out for
Mm-hmm.
the best for me. Yeah,
Got it. So you
yeah,
were, as you said,
hmm,
eyes open, analyze what's going on, and
yeah,
adapt to the plan based upon the new circumstances that
exactly.
arrived. So
Yep.
you adapted there, and then I know this one, but for people, people might have this question that you were in US. Why did
Hmm.
you left US and went to Canada?
Yeah, something I think it's close to my heart too, because I think when I joined my first job, it was still, I think it was still Obama's government. I remember, like the Democratic government, and the change happened maybe 1 or 2 years after my job, and I think the work visa situation, especially in the US, like with the application, how it's working right now, the number of steps which are involved in the whole work visa application process, and how the lottery is conducted, I think it didn't look good in the long term for my situation, because I'm a person who wants a lot of stability in my life, and that's what I was not able
Mhm.
to find when I was in the US. And I think my company
Mhm.
was very cooperative in filing my papers and filing all these steps for the work visa, but ultimately in the first or the second try, I didn't get selected in the lottery, and there was only one more chance remaining, and that's when I started thinking that, okay, I need to have a plan B, right? And that's when I applied for the Canadian permanent residence through express entry, and I got selected for that. I was like, okay, this works great, because now I have a plan B in action, right? And then
Mhm.
ultimately, in my last try, I got selected for the work visa, but by that time it was too late for me to decide to stay in the US, because I had already decided to move to Canada, right? So I think that, yeah,
Mhm.
the work visa situation and the change of government, like from Democratic to Republican with the Trump government, I think it was looking very like shady, in the sense that all the policies were changing quickly. And I think
Mhm.
the kind of atmosphere or the environment which was developing in in the entirety of the United States, it was not looking conducive for me to even start a
Mhm.
family. Like, I was not married at that time, and I was pretty close to getting married in the next 1 or 2 years at that time, when I was applying for my final work visa attempt. So I think, yeah, all those combined, it just didn't make sense for me to like stay in the US and keep working on a work visa. Like, every 3 years you have to renew that, and there might be some complications which might be arising because of a promotion you might get, right? Like, I'm in the core field, right? I'm in the core engineering field, but let's say if
Mhm.
I get promoted to a project manager, or a position which doesn't handle the technical aspects of my job, right? So in that sense, the
Mhm.
work visa might get rejected, because they will say that you're no longer pursuing the field you studied on, right? So those kind of
Mhm.
things, it kept coming on my mind. And I as usual, I talked to a lot of my friends at that time, and also some of the seniors who actually moved to Canada from the US even earlier than me.
Mhm.
So that gave me
Mhm.
an idea that, okay, this is something I can work out in the future, and that's what I did. And I think, apart from the money aspect of it, it's basically between the two economies. Like, it's US is a more capitalist economy, and Canada is a more socialist economy. I don't want to go into much detail, but it's like shared assets, shared funds. Like, there is like nothing is concentrated to the rich, or nothing is concentrated to the poor, right? There is no such distinction. So I think that kind of
Mhm.
gave me an idea that, okay, I will be a slightly more happy if I move over, as compared to making a lot of money being in the US, and like still figuring out whether I'm going to settle here or not, right? So, and again,
Yeah.
like, who knows what's going to happen in the
Mhm.
next 5 years? You have to be open, and you have to be just abreast of what's happening right now. You have to keep yourself
Yeah.
informed to make those informed decisions in the future. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
So right now, Baba is in Canada
yeah,
doing his geotechnical stuff.
yeah.
And what do you think you'll be doing in next 15, 20 years? I know
Uh,
it's hard to say, right?
yeah.
We don't know, but based on right now,
Mm.
what do you think? How is it looking like?
I think in my field, again, there's not a lot of positions to go through. Like, you're like a staff or a junior geotech engineer, right? And then you become an intermediate, which is I'm right now, an intermediate geotechnical engineer. And then after 10 years of experience, you become a senior geotechnical engineer in any company you work for. And then after that, that's the last position. Like, I think after that, you can become the senior technical director, which will be taking care of the advanced or the highly complex jobs which that company is getting, right? So I think next
Hmm.
15 years down the line, I might see myself as a technical director in one of these engineering consultancies. But yeah, I'll be staying close to my firm. Like, I don't want to stray away from civil engineering ever. So yeah.
stay in the
Yeah,
core
exactly.
business. Yeah,
Yeah.
man, that's a lot of journey.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of question answer. You shared a lot.
Yep.
I'm very optimistic. People who wants to go in core are going to watch it and learn a
Yep.
lot. Maybe one question that they would have in their mind
Mm-hmm.
is, should I go for core, which I love a
Mm-hmm.
lot and I resonate a lot, compared to the other field which are paying
Yep.
more, maybe high paying jobs compared to the core.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be your recommendation for them to, should they go and pick the high paying job, or should they do what they love, which is core, but maybe the pay might be different?
Mm-hmm. I think money will keep going and coming in your life. Like you cannot keep money centered in every decision, right? There is a lot of like as you grow up in your life, you will find out that there are lot of other things which are more important than just money, right? I know it's kind of a like it's kind of a sheep's realities of those jobs, right? Like you will be working like if you're making that kind of money, you will be working at least 12 to 18 hours a day, right? And you can think about what you're going to do in the remaining hours of that 24-hour day, right? Like you have to make food, you have to like do the basic like activities which you need for survival, right? So I think keep those other things in mind before making these decisions, right? It's not always about money.
Mhm.
It's about uh, I want to say it's all about the ultimate happiness. Like let's say you're doing a job which you're making a lot of money with, but you're so stressed and you're so frustrated with that job that it's not working out for the good of
Mhm.
you, right? It's deteriorating your health in the long term.
Mhm.
So you need to be content with that. You need to make that decision which is gonna be overall perspective which you want to see before deciding to go for a particular job. Like how it's gonna work out for me in the future, right? So go with the gut feel and keep seeing the data which you have. Like you can talk to like people who are doing those kind of high paying jobs and see how their life is, right? To understand whether that life is made for you or not, right? Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it that you did not say do this or that, but you gave the
Yeah.
general recommendation.
Yeah.
So whatever,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
people resonate more with, they can do
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
Alrighty,
Yeah.
Baba, are you ready for
Yeah.
a rapid fire round now? In the end of
Yeah.
the podcast, we do some of like rapid
Let's do
fire
that.
questions. So the first set of
Mm-hmm.
questions is just like either or. There are two options, so I'll go with
Okay.
them.
Yeah.
Do you prefer texting or talking?
Talking.
Do you prefer to stay indoor or outdoors?
Outdoors.
Do you prefer competition or collaboration?
Competition. Okay. I was just straying away from it, but I was like, no, no, no. I think I love competition. It keeps you motivated. It's like, yeah, it's something which keeps bringing you forward, right? So,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. What's more important, the end result or the journey?
the journey.
What do you prefer? Learn by yourself or learn
Mhm.
from a teacher?
Learn from a teacher.
Would
Yeah.
you rather be able to speak every language in the world or talk to animals?
Talk to animals. I would want to see that.
Would be
Yeah.
interesting. Which animal would you like to talk first? What questions would you
I
ask?
think I think any of the birds, like for example, a pigeon, right? Like I want to see what they feel like flying like long distances and like what do they feel like in terms of just sitting anywhere they want, right? Like go anywhere they want and anytime. So
Yeah,
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 yeah.
awesome. Street smart or book smart?
Street smart. Like the 10-year-old me would have said book smart, but now I'm
Mhm.
saying street smart.
So transition. Okay.
Yeah,
Would you climb a mountain or jump from a plane?
jump from a plane.
Have you done that?
Yes.
Skydiving? Okay.
Yeah, that diving. Yep.
It's easier than climbing a mountain.
That's true. It's just one thing. Just you just get done with it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'll ask you some hypothetical questions.
Okay.
So, if there's a day of no commitment and no responsibility for you,
Hmm.
how would you like to spend that day?
Okay. Uh, I think I love the outdoors in my surroundings, right? Like I maybe yeah go for a camping or just stay there for the day.
Basically, what you do on weekend, you'll
Pretty
continue to
much.
do that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you could be invisible for a day, what
Hmm.
would you do?
Oh, prank a lot of people.
Prank or
Yeah,
track?
do pranks on a lot of my friends.
Okay.
Yeah,
If you're sent back to 10th grade, would
hmm
you still pursue the dream of IIT after seeing what you've gone through?
I will.
Or
Yeah.
and if if I ask you, what would you consider as your greatest achievement? What would you say?
Maybe I'm still waiting for that big achievement because as the life passed by, I felt as if any of those previous achievements were just a showcase of how higher I can go further, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know, like I cannot pinpoint to anything, but yeah, maybe it's coming in the future. I don't know.
That's a good
Yeah.
answer, man. Like the big is yet to come. Wow, man. We hit the 2 hour mark, Baba. I learned so much about you. We have spent fair amount of time and I know you, but just knowing so much about you and it just seems you always had a plan and you have this ability to not go with the sheep herd. You take your own mind, you analyze and you figure out what you want to do and you have done that. And we have seen in your life. So people definitely can do that. We don't need to just follow everyone else. So I want to say thanks, Baba. Thank you for taking time and talking about all the things. And I'm very confident people who are going to hear it, especially the one who are looking to have a role model in the technical field, are going to get a lot of benefit. So thank you so much, Baba.